Hi, my name is Theo, and you are listening to Between Two Trains. We bring you the best and brightest entrepreneurs in the North DeKalb area on the 1st and 15th of every month. Today, your co-hosts are Van Pappas and Eric Most. And now, Between Two Trains.
All right, welcome to another Between Two Trains. I'm Van Pappas, your host, and sitting next to me once again is the ever-famous Eric Most. With Chase Bank. Eric, welcome back to another episode. How have you been?
Thank you. Been great.
Yeah.
Enjoying the spring weather.
It has been nice so far, yeah. It's a little rain, but anyways, we are not here to talk about the weather. We are here to talk about entrepreneurs, and we've got a great entrepreneur today on the show. What's really interesting, Eric, is, we've had all kinds of entrepreneurs over the year and a half we've been doing this. We've had older entrepreneurs, young startup entrepreneurs. We've had people who've been doing it for years and some people who have only done it for a couple years. But today we have something really unique. We have an individual that worked in government service for decades and decided to retire from that government service and start their own business and be an entrepreneur, and you just don't see that too often, do you?
No, you don't. But when the winds of change are upon you, then it can fill your sails, and you can go on a little voyage.
You're always so quick with the Confucius statements there, that words of wisdom.
We were talking about the weather. I wanted to tie it together.
Well, let's bring on the show Maureen O'Mara, correct?
Correct.
All right, Maureen, welcome to the show. And why don't you take a second to tell us what your business is that you've started?
Great. And thanks for having me, by the way. I appreciate it. So I recently opened DexaFit Atlanta, and we do biometric testing. We do body composition testing using a DEXA scanner, and metabolic testing for resting metabolic rate and VO2 max testing. Both of these tests are, or all three of these tests are medical grade, research grade type testing. So it's a similar type of testing you would get in a university or in a hospital or in a research setting. So we're trying to bring that to normal people, athletes, people who are trying to improve themselves, start a fitness program, get some metrics about what they're doing in their body composition and how things are working.
That's great. Well, Maureen, what you don't know is Eric actually is an athlete. He was a football great at Notre Dame. He's blushing here because he hates me to point that out. But so he would be the type of client you would have, people who are athletes or former athletes that are wanting to stay fit and try to recapture some of that. You're laughing. Is that funny?
Well, it's part of our demographic. Absolutely. Part of the market. Absolutely.
Any famous Atlanta athletes that come to you?
Nobody
or that we can disclose?
Nobody so far. I have had an Olympic trainee, a runner,
nice.
A track athlete, and she came into me for body composition testing. It's something that's typically done at the university level, and once she moved into Olympic training, it was not available to her. So she came to me, and the rest is history. But ideally, I would like to break into that market a little bit more. I'm a little surprised, actually, at the market so far has been really broad. So I've had people from teenagers to 70-year-olds who have come in from, I think I said in earlier in some of my history that I sent to you, I've had bodybuilders to bariatric patients. Really anybody who wants to get a better sense of their body composition, their metabolic rate, their cardiovascular health. It's really good for anybody. So athletes can definitely take this information and hone it and use it to their advantage in terms of their training. They can get better with their training, make it more effective. But people who are just wanting to get a baseline and get some metrics and stay accountable and stay motivated, it's a great motivator to see those numbers change. It really appeals to a very broad spectrum of people.
Well, we're going to circle back to how you get your clients, but I wanted to take a step back and talk about you used to work for the United States Environmental Protection Agency, right?
Yes.
Got that right?
You did.
And you were in their law enforcement division.
Yes.
All right. So, a government employee for 30 plus years, you decide, hey, I'm going to retire. Well, tell us a little bit about the thinking and the mentality of what caused you to say, okay, because all the government employees I've ever come across usually work until they get to that pension level that they're comfortable with, and then they kick back on the beach with the Corona. You decide, I'm not kicking back on the beach with the Corona. Tell us about that.
Well, now you've made me rethink my decision a little bit. Maybe I would add a margarita to that. It's a good question. It's really an excellent question, and I'm not even entirely sure what the answer is. I was I'm fortunate in that in law enforcement we're allowed to retire a little bit earlier than most folks. And I had gone on. I'd been employed with the EPA for years and years, so it was sort of getting to the end of what I could do there, and what I felt was in an effective role. I really didn't feel like I was making any progress from a personal or a professional perspective. So I'd sort of hit that wall and didn't know what to do. And I did want to retire and sit on the beach, but that's not really who I am. I just can't do that. Just much more energetic than that. So I was actually looking for a DEXA scanner because I wanted to do my body composition. I wanted to see what I was doing with my weight loss efforts at the time. Couldn't find one, found DexaFit, and the rest is history. I found some folks who would help me with some loans, help me with some money, found amazing space, and it's just been going ever since. It was the transition has been really interesting to me. I don't quite know how to explain it. I think that what's been so great is that it's mine, and that's really different than the government. In the government, every decision you make is second guessed and overseen over and over and over again. You never actually get to do anything that's your own. This feels like it's my own.
You're not working for the man anymore.
Exactly.
But you're still paying Uncle Sam.
I am, and I will
Probably even more than you were before.
I think that's true. But it's okay because it's my.
Sure.
I'm the one who's moving forward on the path as opposed to someone telling me what to do. So
do you have like a biology background, or what steered you into the EPA work, and then what kind of gravitated you towards DexaFit?
I got a degree in chemistry, and it was so long ago I can't even really. I'd embarrass myself.
You don't even remember the periodic table.
No, I don't. Can't help my 13-year-old with her chemistry at all. So I got a degree in chemistry, did a little work for some consulting firms, and then ended up on the Superfund side of things doing consulting work for the EPA, and then ended up moving over as an on-scene coordinator doing emergency response work, which I loved. I loved cleaning up Superfund sites, more in an emergency capacity. That was my sweet spot. And then I ran into the criminal investigators. Who knew the EPA had criminal investigators? And I thought, that is just got to be the coolest job on the planet, putting people in jail for polluting, right? And it was for 25 plus years after I did the hazardous waste cleanup. So it was fun. It was a good move, and it was a great career. 30 years, I had a blast. Great people. It's a great agency, a really good organization. It just had run its course for me, and I love being out on my own, and I kind of wish I'd done this sooner in hindsight.
You mentioned the space, the cool space that you're in. So Eric, before you started co-hosting here, we had a guest on our show. His name's Robert Pond. He does a lot of adaptive reuse developments in the Chamblee area, and he took, for those listeners that know the downtown area, he took a old business that was called the Whaley Machine Shop. These family had owned it for decades and decades, and he cleaned it up and turned it into sort of office loft type spaces. So you are in one of Robert's spaces, correct?
I am. I'm actually in the coolest.
The coolest of all?
The coolest
We'll have
space
to let
of
Robert
all.
know that
It
you
is.
got
The big
coolest suite.
glass garage door, the whole thing. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But it's just you right now. You don't have any employees. So let's talk about, you've made this jump from working for the government to being an entrepreneur. You know, it's a challenge. We know how much of a challenge. We've heard all these entrepreneurs come on the show and tell us, you know, everything that they go through. It's really tough when you're all by yourself because you got to wear every single hat. You got to wear the accounting hat. You got to wear the marketing hat. You got to wear the actual work hat. What's your plan there around, you know, you've started this, you want to grow it. Are we going to be adding employees, or is this just a one-man business?
Well, I'm going to have to get some employees or I'll probably have a nervous breakdown. It's just constant for me. So you're absolutely right. I can't even count how many hats I'm wearing right now. And it's just getting busier and busier. So my plan right now, and I'm actually working with a couple of kids, bringing them on, getting them trained, and ultimately we'll be hiring them. I want to do it a little bit slowly and make sure that they've got, because again, this is my business and I want it to be run how I want it to be run, and I want to approach clients and deal with clients in a very particular way. I want to have the right personality and the right approach. So I want people who have that same mentality as I do.
So you said you used the word train. Does the equipment that you use, these scanners, have to have special certified, you know, operators, or, you know, can I come get a job from you?
If you go through the training, you can. The DEXA scanner is a very low-level X-ray machine, so you do have to have X-ray training. You have to have radiation training.
I don't have to be a doctor, but I have
No.
to at least have training on how to use the equipment.
You do. You have to have training on how to use the equipment. You have to have you have to pass a test
Okay.
that's required by the state. And in my business,
Not by the EPA though.
no, not by the EPA. No. We are not
Had to
regulated by the
throw that in
EPA.
there.
No, definitely not. You have to. I require a CPR and AED training, and
Makes
the metabolic
sense.
cart that we use to do the resting metabolic rate testing and the VO2 max testing is literally something you would find in any hospital like Emory. You would see this machine, this device, this gas exchange device in a hospital, and it took about 2.5 days of training just for me to learn how to use this. And I'm still calling technical support on a regular basis. So it is complicated, and it is really important that people have go through that training with me. So it's going to require a couple days of training, couple weeks just for the equipment alone. And then again, approaching and dealing with clients, dealing with the booking and the payment processing system, all those things just takes time. So
So
get
with
there.
the employee, you would mainly be having them deal with the equipment, or you would hire someone, you know, where I'm going with this is, I'm curious, when people start a new business, what they think in their mind is the first most important employee that they need to bring on. Is it an administrative person to handle things like you were talking about, scheduling and all those administrative tasks? Or do you have a good handle on that and a procedure that works, and you don't necessarily need that administrative person first?
I don't need the administrative person first. Most of my administrative work is automated and can be done online. I do a lot of booking over the phone when I need to, but the bulk of it is done online. So I don't really need too much help with that. I would need some help probably answering the phone and answering questions. There's a lot of questions. This is a very new a new type of an idea for a lot of people. They want to know more about it. So I need somebody to help me answer questions. But mostly what I need is people in the shop doing the testing. And for a while, they'll be doing it with me before they do it on their own.
Now let's talk about the structure of DexaFit. You know, is it you just buy the equipment from that company, or is this a franchise type operation?
It's a franchise type operation. It's an affiliate, so it's not as tightly structured as a franchise, and certainly not as expensive as a franchise. But DexaFit is a national company, and it is growing significantly. In fact, they are about to open, I believe, 3 DexaFits in Asia. So we've got 20 plus in the United States.
You're the only one here in Atlanta.
I'm the only one here in Atlanta, yes.
Do you have the exclusive rights to Atlanta?
I have a 10-mile radius exclusive rights.
Okay.
I'm already talking to DexaFit Corporate, though, about maybe branching out. I get a number of clients coming from Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina.
They come because there's not a DexaFit in that area.
There's nothing like what we do in those areas at all. Yeah. In fact, had some folks come in last couple weekends from Chattanooga, Nashville.
How did they find out about you?
The internet, Google.
Okay.
Google is my friend. There is no doubt. One of the great things about DexaFit, I mean, they're one of the I don't know of any other company that has a DEXA scanner available to the general population. It's a bone density X-ray machine that's been repurposed to do body composition analysis. It is used in a research context in universities for that purpose, but it's not available to the general public. And people are learning about it. They're learning that it is an amazing tool for figuring out your body composition, way better than the calipers or the bod pods or the dunk tanks or the bioelectrical impedance monitors. You've seen those, you scales you stand on or you hold them. They all estimate your body composition based on some parameter, whether it's displacing water or air or an electrical current that goes through your body. They estimate all of the other aspects. So your visceral fat, your lean tissue, your bone, and your bone density. And for a lot of people, we're all different. We're all different. So your body composition is not the same as mine, right? Your bone density is not going to be the same as mine. So to make those extrapolations can be very problematic and usually really wrong. So people want those numbers and they want accurate numbers, so they're looking for DEXA scanners. So when you search for a DEXA scanner that is available to people, we come up. We come up online.
Now, would doctors refer their patients to you, or that's really not something a doctor would say, hey, we want you to go get scanned and we can't do it, so we'll go to DexaFit? That's like what I'm trying to learn here today is, where are your clients coming from? You mentioned Google, that's great, but I mean, since I know Robert and I know you're in his building, I wouldn't have known to look for DexaFit without that. So what other sources of potential customers are you looking at other than just online Google searches?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's one of those million hats that I'm wearing, is trying to get out to some other markets. A couple of things, health and fitness providers. So whether you're a trainer or a gym, I've been doing a lot of outreach to those types of folks. They can refer their clients to send to me, again, for baseline information and then for continuing metrics.
What about chiropractors?
Sure.
Would they be a good source of potential clients?
Absolutely. I'm also working with a couple of companies who do health and wellness programs for bigger companies, and I'm going to be getting out and doing some of those wellness type fairs. I guess there's some
sure.
events, and I'll be able to talk more about what I do and give them information to their employees. Because I think for companies who want to have a wellness program, I'm a great way to show metrics for that. So getting baselines for people, having them be accountable, giving them some motivational tools is really helpful. How do you measure whether a health and wellness program is working for a company? It's really hard. You can, if people say they're feeling better, whatever you're implementing, they're feeling better, their pants are fitting better, whatever it is, I can tell you with real numbers.
So they would come in, get scanned, they'd go through their program, they come in at the end, get scanned. Now they have something to measure whether their program was effective because they got scanned at the beginning, scanned at the end.
Exactly.
So how does your revenue structure work for that? Is it by the scan? If I said, hey, I want to come get scanned, you're going to charge me a flat fee to get scanned. What's your model?
I can do that. My preference is to put a package together. Okay. So whether that's a baseline and a follow-up scan, or an entire package of a DEXA scan, resting metabolic rate, and a VO2 max test, and then another follow-up DEXA scan. That's really the ideal situation. So you can get that baseline and then come back for whether it's a VO2 max test or a DEXA scan for your follow-up. These are really, again, they provide really good metrics, and it depends on your goals. If you're an athlete, if you're a triathlete, and you want to know that your VO2 max is getting better based on your training, then you'd want to come back to me for a follow-up with that. But ideally, I sell packages to people so that they can come in and get that baseline and then come back in.
It's almost like, taking your fitness and your commitment to fitness to a different level. You can rely on your family heritage from your grandma's, stories, or you can do a 23andMe, which actually tests your DNA. Very similarly, you can do a diet and think and feel, oh yeah, I'm really doing this, and I feel great and I look great. Or you can have a deeper level of data that's tested through a DexaFit analysis. Am I right with that, Maureen?
Exactly. That's exactly right. You can go in and lift weights or run or do whatever you're doing, but you don't know that your body composition is changing necessarily.
Absolutely.
The scale may change, that number may change, but you don't know that internally you've built more muscle, you've lost some fat. How do you quantify that?
Yeah.
I can quantify that.
Eric, would this be something back from your football days that you could see football programs saying, hey, we're going to scan all our players and use that data in some way? Or
it's a huge benefit because it's real data. Young kids are changing dynamically. Their bodies are growing, their minds are growing. For adults, things are changing at a different pace. When I was in
is that you?
Yeah.
We'll cut this.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I forgot to turn off the work phone.
Ah, the true entrepreneur.
Yeah.
2 phones.
Right, 2 phones.
Yes, you are definitely an entrepreneur.
Sorry about that.
Nah, worry. I'm sorry. I don't know where you were.
Well, what I was saying is, in my adult life, post college, I'll work out 3-4 times a week, and then football season will roll around, and I'll, enjoy a few IPAs while watching the Notre Dame Irish. And this is a way to actually measure, okay, is that workout plan working for you?
All right.
Things can change slower, as you slow down, but the combination of all the diet fads, keto, paleo, in combination with what you do, this is a way that you can actually measure what is that doing for you.
Well, we are up to our commercial point, so we need to take a short break to hear from our sponsors, but we are going to come back and play our ever fun game, Hot or Not. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening to Between Two Trains.
Hi, this is Greg Burke.
Hey, Jan Levy.
Hi, this is Jeff Hill with Remote Home Check.
This is Kathy Kanev. You've been listening to Between Two Trains.
Are you a business owner or entrepreneur? We'd love to get your story on Between Two Trains. Shoot us an email at betweentwotrains@gmail.com. That's between the number 2 trains@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Between Two Trains. We appreciate you listening. You can listen to us on your favorite podcasting apps, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play. We're on all of those. Or if you're sitting at work, just open up your browser and go to betweentwotrains.com, and you can listen to all our past episodes there. So we've been talking with Maureen O'Mara about her business DexaFit, and we are now going to play Hot or Not. So Eric, I'll take the first one. Since you're a brand new entrepreneur, hot or not, a 5-year business plan. Did you do a business plan when you started?
Oh, that is definitely not hot.
Not
for
hot.
me.
Business
no,
plans are
definitely
not
not hot.
So you're flying
No.
by the seat of your pants.
Totally by the seat of my pants. No, that's not entirely true. DexaFit's helped me with that a little bit.
They have
but
some
but
systems
5
in
year,
place.
that's a little too far out for me, man. I can't think that far out.
Says the woman who worked for one organization for 30 years.
You got to switch it up.
Right. Well, that's not uncommon. You often see entrepreneurs who do like to fly by the seat. They have this great idea. They don't necessarily put it down on paper. When I started as a financial planner many years ago, I did do a plan and I had it down on paper. But I kind of don't do that anymore. I still do once a year a plan for the next calendar year, but it's more of, here's how many clients I want to bring on, here's how much revenue I need to hit. It's not necessarily a fully written out plan. So you're probably doing something similar to that by the seat of your pants.
My primary goal right now, and you can ask Robert Pond this question, is to pay my rent.
I'm sure
That is
Robert.
the primary thing
I'm sure that's very important to Robert.
It
right
is
now.
very important to Robert, and so it is very important to me that I pay my rent. That is my plan.
Well, and having a plan isn't necessarily as important as planning, because things change. We live in a dynamic environment where next week things could be different. But I think, Van, to your point, what you probably work with your clients, and encourage your clients is, you can aim at long-term success, and you may get there, but having a plan at how to achieve that you break down in increments is probably something that you put into place, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, Maureen, I've got a question, hot or not. New to the entrepreneurial world, having a mentor, is that something that's hot for you or not?
It is hot for me. I don't have one. I have several, I would say, and it depends on what arena.
Does your mentor know you're cheating on them?
Yeah, they
They
all
all know.
I have an open relationship with all of them. That's the rule. That's the ground rules. It's all very open. Yeah, I think it's really important to have mentors and to have help and guidance, especially coming from the government world into a completely new world for me. So I rely a lot on the DexaFit execs and some folks locally, including Robert. He's helped me with quite a few things. It's been really helpful. I had no idea about commercial real estate or getting a business license or dealing with the state on this side of things, right? The regulatory side, this side of the regulatory world. So it's been really different, and I've gotten a lot of good help and rely on those folks a lot.
There is a lot, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because we do have people who listen who are thinking about, hey, maybe I want to become an entrepreneur, start my own business. And it is more than just, hey, I'm going to put up a shingle and say, come into my business. There is a lot of regulations. You do have to get a business license. You do have to register with the Secretary of State. So people forget that, and they forget on the local level too. They focus on the state, and they forget, you're in Chamblee, so you got to go to Chamblee City Hall and fill out their paperwork. So make sure, what I would always encourage people is, if you need help with that, reach out to a professional. Start at your local Chamber of Commerce. A lot of those Chamber of Commerces are really good to help guide through that process. If you do live or work or plan on starting a business inside a municipality, go to that municipality. A lot of times they have like a checklist. Tell us about that process for you. Robert helped you with that. What was the first thing you did?
I went to City of Chamblee. I went to
Chamblee
City
City
Hall.
Hall.
That's exactly what I did, and they were very helpful. They
Good.
really were. They gave me the paperwork I needed, told me how to fill it out. I mean, they did
got some
everything.
Good staff there at the front.
They really
of City
did.
Hall.
Yeah, and the state did too, with respect to getting the DEXA scanner and registered and all of that.
That scanner requires special state registration.
Requires an inspection too.
Okay.
So very helpful, very really very responsive. It's been great. It really has been. It just all these little things you just don't know until they're right in front of you. So I've had a lot of people help me with that, and I appreciate that very much.
Well, we have time for one more hot or not. I don't know, Eric, do you have one off the top of your?
Yeah, you mentioned you're hiring new employees, so personality tests for a would-be employee, is that hot or not?
I'm not a fan of personality tests.
You didn't have to go through that with the government?
You just have to be able to get along with me. That's
Okay.
the thing, right? That's
For anyone out there listening, forget the resume. Just know,
Yeah.
just know the answer to Maureen's.
no personality or test required for the government, or they probably wouldn't have hired me.
So if you want a job at the EPA, you're good to go.
You're good to go. That's right. You're good to go.
Well, Maureen, we really appreciate you coming on the show. I have a feeling we could talk for another 30 minutes, but we are out of time. And thank you to everyone who's listening to the show. As you know, you can listen to us on BetweenTwoTrains.com. If you're interested in coming on the show, just reach out to us. We've got a whole lineup of guests coming up over the next couple of months, so stay tuned. Eric, thanks again for co-hosting.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Shout out to Chase Bank. They're an awesome bank. If you need your banking needs, call Eric and he can help you out. And Maureen. God, I'm having trouble with your first name all of a sudden.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Maureen.
You got it.
Tell us before we part. If someone is interested in coming, what's the best way to do it? Should they go to your website or call you up or give us your contact info?
Either way is perfect. www.dexafit.com/Atlanta /locations/Georgia/Atlanta, excuse me, on that. And the website has a ton of really good information, a lot of good detailed information about the tests that I do. Call me 404-996-7129 if you have any questions or if you want to make an appointment directly with me.
I think I've already forgotten that web address because it was so long. I think probably if they just type DexaFit Atlanta, wouldn't it come up?
It will come up.
On a Google search?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, well, thank you again for coming on, and you've been listening to Between Two Trains. You have a wonderful week.